That'd be a yes.
All right, here we go. Basically, I'm here this day, this present moment, to describe how our monetary system works. You know, the Federal Reserve, U.S. Treasury. I basically have a diagram right here. Now you see, we got the sheeple on the bottom. We pay our taxes and Federal Reserve notes to the IRS. Now, what happens? The IRS gives the Federal Reserve notes to the U.S. Treasury. What does U.S. Treasury spend it on? Warfare and welfare. Things that don't really benefit anybody except for maybe the people getting bombed. And maybe the crack babies on welfare, you know, using their welfare money for drugs and whatnot. You know, I mean, welfare is kind of cool. It's just abused. And, you know, war is kind of cool. It's just like, you know, why kill innocent people? Like 1 million Iraqis have died and no one cares. And it was all a bunch of bullshit. Excuse my foul language, but this is foul circumstances. Anyway, I'm getting off track here. Okay, so we have the U.S. Treasury getting the Federal Reserve notes. Now, guess what? The Federal Reserve, which is as federal as the Federal Express, which is not federal, it's not part of the government, it is an independent cabal of banksters. They give Federal Reserve notes to the Treasury. Now, what does the Treasury give the Fed? The Treasury gives it Treasury bills, bonds, debt obligations. Debt is money. Debt is money. That is how it works. It is a giant pyramid scheme, and I'm going to show you how it works. Okay, your Treasury bills, also known as bonds, they have no interest. When the Treasury needs money, it issues bonds, notes, or bills. The Fed serves other countries along with other Fed member banks and national banks like Citibank, Wells Fargo. There are 12 member banks in the Fed. The one near Houston is the Dallas Fed. There's a San Francisco Fed. You can find us all on the dollar bill. Anyway, so when the U.S. Treasury runs out of money, Congress appropriates the money by ordering the Treasury to pass a law that enables the Treasury to pay bills. Okay, the U.S. Treasury does not have money except for the amount it has on deposit at the 12 Federal Reserve member banks. Basically, he who has the gold rules. That's the key, okay? In order to keep from overdrawing the account, which is a no-no, to make up for that slack, they have to get the money from somewhere. They borrow or they tax totalmente with accord to the FOMC, the Federal Reserve Open Market Committee, which sets interest rates. You know how the Fed sets interest rates along with increasing the monetary supply, which is called inflation. Basically, the reason that gold's been going up is because the dollar's been going down. Gold is constant, dollar is down. So you have $5 today, that buys you this much gold. In 10 years, your $5 is not going to buy you that much gold at all. Now, Obama wants interest rates to go down to help create jobs. Interest rates are applied to the market being China, the Indian Central Bank, Chinese Central Bank, German Central Bank, Japanese Central Bank, basically the people with the money. So the U.S. Treasury sells bonds at the highest possible price to the Federal Reserve. You remember, it sells bonds to the Federal Reserve in exchange for Federal Reserve notes. That's what we call money, which is not money. Money is something that's a commodity. We have come to find that money is simply paper based on the full faith and credit of the United States government, the USSA, the crumbling Rome is burning empire. Now, the Fed determines the price of interest rates, then this sets the global interest rate for the Federal Reserve. The US dollar is basically the world's reserve currency currently. I don't think it's going to stay that way for that much longer, but only time will tell. Now, all the money from the interest earned by the Fed member banks over the 6% that it keeps is profit for the Treasury. The Fed gets 6% profit basically by creating money out of thin air, and the Treasury loots the rest of the people's money and keeps it for itself. Itself being the politicians and their pet projects, the pork barrel spending. Okay, the rest of the Fed stock equity is owned by the U.S. Treasury de facto. The money that goes back to the Treasury in the form of greater than 6% is also known as the profit that the Treasury gets. Now here's where we encounter a conflict of interest. The Treasury wants to keep the budget deficit down, thus keeping bond prices up artificially, in order that any country or company or foreign central bank will have excess cash to invest in U.S. Treasury notes. Investors who don't trust money, dollars, Federal Reserve notes, go into market to buy gold. And when everyone buys gold, the gold price goes up because the dollar goes down. Okay, let's see what else we have here today, class. Hope y'all wearing your thinking caps, because this is not something you'll hear on television. That's why the interwebs is a godsend, for lack of a better word. Let's see here. Everything over 6% dividends paid to national banks. Okay. Fed is not. The Federal Reserve is not owned by Fed Bank unless transaction with each other member banks. Okay, so the Fed member banks trade real gold among themselves at $42.22 per ounce of gold. And the Fed's interest income goes into the Fed's bank account. Now, who owns the Fed? Who knows? The 12 member banks. I think the New York Fed is the most powerful one. That's Timothy Geithner's position. He's now the Ponzi scheme in chief, the U.S. Treasury Secretary. You know, scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Okay? Every national member bank in the U.S. owns Federal Reserve stock. Every member bank, all national banks, get the interest over the 6% interest that they earn. So, you have a piece of paper with a certain percent of value of Fed stock is what the 12 Fed member banks own. The U.S. Treasury is the Pavlov's dog that got people to believe it was the same as gold and silver, which were the original currency that in our Constitution mandates that we use gold and silver as legal tender. But they have now declared this Federal Reserve note is, payable to all debts, public and private. So it's not redeemable in gold, it's not redeemable in silver. What is it redeemable in? It's redeemable in faith in Lucifer. Faith in Lucifer, the light of the world. That's the guy on the top of the pyramid. Yeah, the Masonic pyramid, the one with 33 degrees, and the one high above the 33rd degree. Yeah, the Novus Ordo Seclorum. Have you heard of the European Union? Have you heard of NAFTA? Have you heard of the Asian Trading Bloc? Have you heard of have you heard Gaddafi just got suicided or killed, or I don't know, and Benazir Bhutto got killed. I guess they weren't playing ball. So we got the African Union, we got the European Union, we got the Asian Trading Bloc. I'm sure South America's got something. All we need is a great crisis to exploit in order to bring about the New World Order, the final solution, where we wipe out 90% of the population and use eugenics to control the people. Now I say, knowledge is power, okay? How about we use some knowledge and we vote and we say hell no to the Fed. We say hell no to killing innocent people in Iraq, Afghanistan, Yemen, Palestine, Pakistan, Somalia, Vietnam. Oh, Vietnam, by the way. They had weapons of mass destruction, too. Oh, wait, no, that was the Gulf of Tonkin. That was another lie. That's another story. Oh, yeah, the USS Maine had the Spanish-American War. That was probably a bunch of BS. That's arguable, though. And then we had weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Afghanistan, weren't the hijackers allegedly from Saudi Arabia? I think the U.S. government bribes foreign aid. Saudi Arabia bribes them, so they play ball with the Zionists. So World War III is coming. It's going to happen in about maybe 10 or 15 years. You got Israel usurping Palestinian land because God told them to. Hey, that reminds me, that's what we did to the Native Americans. Remember? We said, hey guys, we brought our smallpox and our bubonic plague, and we said, hey guys, we're going to kill you and take your land, and we're going to put you on reservations, but you don't have to pay tax. That's the only thing. So, yeah, I think we're doing that to Palestinians. So, it's basically Jim Crow in Palestine. No one tells you this because guess who owns the television? Zionists. Zionism is hate. Zionism is not Judaism. Zionism is the opposite of Judaism. Zionism is war. Judaism and Christianity and Islam are peace, depending on who you ask. Plenty of people have their own interpretation of religion, but that's beside the point. The point is, we need to get along and have a peaceful world. And once we understand how this pyramid scheme works, how the banks create money, they loan it out to the people at an interest rate, okay? Now that interest rate, where's the money to pay that interest that they loaned out because debt is money? They have to create more money to pay the interest on the money they just created. And then they have to pay interest on that money that they just created. And so on and so on. It's a big pyramid scheme. It's exponential. All pyramid schemes, all fiat currencies, all empires collapse. This is a law of nature. I don't know of any example in nature where a fiat currency or an empire has lasted forever. And if you think the USSA is not an empire, I'm going to have to respectfully disagree with you there. We have bases in, I don't know, more than 100 countries. And how much does that all cost? And what good does it do? How many people have we murdered? Huh? How many people? Hitler killed 6 million. Uncle Joe Stalin killed 20 million, didn't he? And FDR was his buddy. Hey, Truman nuked. We use our weapons of mass destruction on people. And we have the audacity to say you can't have a weapon of mass destruction? Wow, that's some arrogance we have. You know why? Because in God we trust. In God we trust. On our money. God is money to these mothers. Now, God is also love. If you have God love and you have God money, what else do you need?